I love how quiet and unassuming it is the second you walk in. There's nothing. There's no items, nothing to pick up, nothing to really see, nothing to really interact with. Except for the television. On topic of princesses, the film Stay Alive, which was produced by Disney basically, name drops Silent Hill 4 because it mixed up with Silent Hill 1 and mentions the Hyper Blast. No fucking, really? That's crazy. Alright, I'm gonna have to look into that because that sounds nutty. The fact that, one, Silent Hill games are referenced in media, but it's name dropping 4 of all things. Yeah, you're definitely not in denial, James, you egocentric punts. But usable VCR. We do have something, and I'm just gonna can't confirm it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. That is nutty. But well, there's only one thing left to do, and I'm just gonna shut up for this one. Let it speak for itself.
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful. You know what I heard? This whole area used to be a sacred place. I think I can see why. It's too bad we have to leave. Please promise you'll take me again, James.
Mary.
So there you are, James. Did you get the letter? Did you find Mary? If not, let's get going already, okay?
Laura. Mary's gone. She's dead.
Liar, that's a lie!
No, that's not true.
She died because she was sick?
No, I killed her.
You killer! Why'd you do it? I hate you! I want her back! Give her back to me! I knew it! You didn't care about her! I hate you, James! I She was always waiting for you. Why? Why?
I'm sorry. The Mary you know isn't here. Laura, I'm sorry. That voice.
And there we have it. If I recall correctly, there is a slightly clearer version of this scene with different audio cut from the game where you could hear Mary stroll. Yes. Unfortunately, this scene was the victim of censorship. Holy shit, after playing this game for years, only now do I recognize it. I didn't get the reference. I'll explain what I meant by the chair in a second here, but essentially, they added that distortion effect at the very end there, and they cut the audio of the scene because it was deemed too graphic. I can see where they're coming from. Like, everything else in this game is mostly left to implication. We'll just, like, quiet the audio a little bit there, but everything else is left to implication. But that's pretty explicit. So, because Silent Hill 2 is quite the detail-sparse game when it wants to be, I'll explain the timeline of what exactly happened to get James to the very start of the game, which, as I said in the first part, this is an in medias res kind of opening. We are in the middle of James' story at the start of the game. But essentially, what happened is James went up to his sick wife, Mary, gave her one last kiss on the cheek while she was in bed, and smothered her to death with a pillow. After this, he drove to Silent Hill. Whether or not he had the corpse in the car is a matter of debate. Masahiro Ito says he did. He didn't write the game, though, so who knows. But he drives to Silent Hill with the corpse in the car, and more than likely planned to kill himself there. We can infer this from one of the endings, as well as where he was parked, overlooking the lake, to drive right in. There's a form of ritualistic familial suicide in Japan. I cannot remember the name of the specific practice at the moment. I'm very sorry, I forgot to write this down. Where you murder your family and kill yourself by driving into the lake. I posted a meme in Gamecocks related to that. I'm gonna have to see as soon as we're done here. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. But so more than likely what happened is he entered the bathroom. He tried to work up the nerve to go through with it, which is why he was staring at himself so intently in the mirror, just, can I do this, can I do this? But in that very moment, the spiritual presence in the town grabbed him and pulled him in. Now he's in its world. And that's when, at the very moment, after however long of staring at himself, he has this very odd delivery of the line, "Mary, could you really be in this town?" He's gone fully engrossed in the nightmare. He's been given his second chance. Even if he knows it's bullshit, he knows what he did. He never forgot what he did. We're gonna get to that rant in a second. The town didn't make him stupid. He didn't forget. James knew exactly what he did from moment one. The town gave him a second chance to hide from it, which is the entire point of the fucking game. The question is why? Why would the town drag him into this scenario? We'll talk about that in a little bit here. Let's catch up on chat. I didn't get the reference. So if you remember at towards the beginning, in the apartment complex, when you're running through and you hear the scream, and James is like, oh, it's like just up from here. You run to it, you see Pyramid Head on the opposite side of the bars for the first time. You go into that room, James sees a corpse in a chair staring at a television. And he's like, oh my god, who could have done this? If you paid close attention to the way that corpse in the chair looking at the television is positioned, that not only is that James's character model, but the way he's slumped over is exactly the same position that James was slumped over in the chair after he apologized to Laura and collapsed back into it. 1-to-1, it is the exact same pose. And that is the same model of television with static. That's why the blood was on the television. It's what did the killing blow to James's current situation. It was foreshadowing of the exact moment where he was going to have to face exactly what he did. No coincidence that Pyramid Head is the one who he encounters right before seeing that. For the first time. I'll post a side-by-side later if I can. I love the subtle storytelling giving you implications. The Schreiber notes are better, though. Sunglasses. Agree to disagree. So, yeah. Just to make sure that you know I'm not completely AFK here, but what's worth noting is, here's what I planned. Alright. This is the moment where we finally respond to Joseph Anderson. The town did not make James stupid. It didn't. That is a complete misunderstanding of the scenario that happened. James didn't repress his memories. He didn't forget anything. He knows exactly what he did from moment one, and you pay close attention to his mannerisms, to a lot of his behaviors, to some of his line deliveries, you can tell that he knows what he did from the very beginning. There's so many to list that I'm only going to give a few really choice examples. When Laura first brought up that she knew Mary about a year ago, contradicting his 3 years dead narrative, he instantly lashed out at her. Calls her a liar. He didn't question. He just calls her a liar. Lashes out instantly. Because she is challenging his extremely fragile lie that he is living with right now. When he's talking with Maria, and she makes a comment, "Didn't you say your wife died?" James seems to forget his story for a second, and then instantly he's like, yeah, she died 3 years ago. It's because he forgot the specifics of the lie he was telling himself, probably because he came up with it on the spot. And I think this is my favorite. This one always gets me. At the very beginning, when you first pick up the radio, and he says, "Is this thing broken?" and he puts it up to his ear, you hear a female voice on the other end, muffled by static. That is Monica Taylor Horgan. That's Mary/Maria's voice actress. And the line that you can make out, if you listen for it, you can hear it. Clear as day, you can make it out. The line she says in that radio before he turns it off and puts it away and says, I might need it, is, "Why did you kill me, James?" And those are only 3 of the major examples of every bit of obvious foreshadowing that James knows exactly what the fuck he did. The town didn't make him stupid. End of rant. So, James killed his wife. It's all revealed. It's not all revealed, though. There's a few questions that are going to remain for the time being. Why did he kill Mary? Because motivation matters. Motivation is 100% important here. We have to know, why did he do it? That doesn't just happen overnight. There's got to be some sort of reason, if he's this fixated on Mary. Even still. Where's Angela where's Laura, and what exactly is the deal with what sounds like Mary or Maria on the radio? What exactly am I talking about when I'm referencing the why of Silent Hill? Like, when I keep saying, I'll explain it later, explaining why Silent Hill does what it does of making people's psyches come to life. Why? We're gonna answer that very soon. And what's the deal with Pyramid Head? We haven't seen him in a while, but there's some more. We gotta get our final details. Yeah, no, I trust Joseph Anderson, published author's assertion that the Talon made him stupid. Like, I can't get over that he's missing this much, because, like, the game, it has some subtle details, but this aspect is hammered into your fucking skull every step of the way. I have no idea how he missed it. And now we are in a waterlogged, burned-down apartment. I don't think this is the other world, though. I think the beautiful, pristine hotel, that was James's other world. This is him seeing it as it really is. Yeah, James is a bad liar, can't hold a story. He's someone who is very clearly in a manic, troubled state of mind, trying to maintain a lie. Gonna meet my superhero from the second movie again. Yeah, I can be your hero, baby. Gonna go save Heather Mason. Also, can I just say, I love this chunk of the game. It is so nightmarish. Where you have this, like, constant droning track mixed with the water dripping. It is nauseating. And I think that's intentional, because we and James are now forced to live with the reality that James Sunderland is a murderer. It's not just Eddie like when it was self-defense. He is a genuine, premeditated murderer. And we have to live with that. Same way he does. Yeah, Phalus reference. Yeah, it's the Phalus review. You got me.
Doctor, it's your job to heal people. How can you just let her die?
Please, calm down. As her doctor, I promise I'll do what I can. But there's still no effective treatment for her condition.
How long does she have?
I'm afraid I'm not sure. 3 years at most. Perhaps 6 months. It's impossible to say with certainty.
And there you have it. She didn't die 3 years ago. She died to him 3 years ago. The Mary he knew, the Mary he married, Mary loved. When she got that illness, she died to him 3 years ago. That's where the number comes from. I don't know if it was premeditated, but it was obviously built up over the duration of her illness. That's fascinating, and we're going to talk about that. Because I think it's intentionally left up in the air. And I really appreciate about that. Yeah, this is the real Lakeview, charred and left to the elements. The prison artist has a painting that shows the hotel on fire, and the heater has a note by it, and the area has police state. Yeah, exactly. I think this is the real Lakeview Hotel. It is the Burning Man. We are seeing the true... Now, it's still in Silent Hill. It still has that supernatural bullshit, as we're going to see later. Like, let's check the map. So, we are on this side. We're going to go through this door. Yeah, right? Like... Actually, let's just zoom out. It is all the way at the other side. Like... It's pretty clear that this is very supernatural. Also, a little detail, you can kind of make out butterflies and moths on the windowsills. And now we are in something of a maze. There we go. Also, what's interesting is the flashlight will not work anymore. Press switch, but nothing happens. And pool and pool. Yeah, we're loaded. We're stacked and we're tacked. We're ready for the end game. Oh. And once again, stagnant water imagery returns. Now we are waist deep in it. This is, essentially, like, this is the source. Notice how the water's been getting higher as the game's gone on. We start off, it's just kind of puddles in the apartment. Then it's like leg deep, like calf deep in the prison. Now it's waist deep. We're getting larger and larger. The water's rising. Very interesting. Yeah, look how stacked we're getting. Yeah, like, look at that. Look at that. And we're gonna get one last bit of impossible space fuckery. So, this is the staircase that leads up to the first floor. I'm just gonna turn off the mic again for another big cutscene.
was looking for you. Now you're the only one left. Maybe then I can rest. Mama, why are you running away? You're not my mama. It's you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Angela, no.
Thank you for saving me. But I wish you hadn't. Even Mama said it. I deserved what happened.
No, Angela, that's wrong.
No, don't pity me. I'm not worth it. Or maybe you think you can save me. Will you love me? Take care of me? Heal all my pain? That's what I thought. James, give me back that knife.
No, I won't.
Saving it for yourself?
Me? No, I'd never kill myself. It's hot as hell in here.
You see it too. For me, it's always like this.
And that is the end of Angela. We can see her walk into the flames up there. Let's get as close as we can look as she walks upwards into the flames. This game is all like The Room. I disagree. I strongly disagree. I think Silent 4 The Room desperately wishes it could be this. I don't mean, oh, the Tommy Wiseau one? Even that, I heartily disagree. But, I love the detail on the sides of the walls here. The man encased in skin bleeding from the crotch. Make of that what you will, knowing Angela's full story. Something I want to show off first. The original letter from Mary. It has flesh monsters, yeah. It's they're now more humanoid. And they're having this liquid dampness coming from the crotch. It's exactly what you think it is. Oh boy. So I want to examine this letter. I forgot to. She cut off their foreskins. Yeah, hey, she goes shopping in Silent Hill 3, but it doesn't really work out for her. I don't know. Yeah, it's a Silent Hill 4 reference. She cut off their foreskins. Foreskin thief. She must be stopped, but there is nothing in the envelope. Something to think about. There never was a letter. It was a complete fabrication of the town from the very beginning. Only thing left is Mary's name on an envelope. And even this, we're going to have to examine later. Let's talk about Angela, though. It's enough about James. One thing I found kind of interesting is the very first thing she does is scream "Mama" and run towards James and embrace him, before realizing at the last second that, oh, you're not, it's you. Did she actually, for a few seconds, perceive James as her mom? I don't know. Or is she just that far gone, and she was just another human being? She just was so desperate to see her mother in them. I have no answer. It's make of it what you will. I think when you tie this back into one of the ideas in Silent Hill 3, it becomes this scene becomes extremely fascinating there. However, we're not at Silent Hill 3. We're not going to use that to discuss context of this game. So I think it's pretty clear by the very end. Angela is suffering from the good old-fashioned case of battered woman syndrome. Long-term abuse leading to intense cycles of helplessness, like intense feelings of helplessness. This kind of like looming sense of they deserve what they get. Like, she's got it to the T. And this is Angela's delusion. So her and Eddie, I think, have very more than even so James has with either of them. Her and Eddie have very interesting paralleling arcs. So, because the thing is, like, Eddie and Angela follow the exact same arc. Both of them are, they both committed a crime. They're on the run from it, and are intensely in denial about the nature of the crime and themselves. And in the end, both of them fail to face the truth of anything involving the situation. They fail to face what they've done. They fail to acknowledge who they are and their place in the world. And then in the end, presumably both of them die for it. It's never said what happens to Angela. I think we can assume what happened to her. And Eddie, of course, is killed by James, which is fitting, actually. See, the difference between them, how their arcs separate, is Eddie externalizes his response to these kind of traumas. He will blame literally everyone but himself. But even in that delusion, in the back of his mind, I think he knows who his true worst enemy is. It's specifically why I keep bringing up every single time he says, killing a person's no big deal, or I'm just gonna kill whoever makes fun of me. He puts the gun right to his own head. Whether or not he's consciously doing it, I think some part of him is aware of it. And because of someone who externalizes all their issues like that, Eddie is killed by someone else. On the flip side, we have Angela, who views herself as someone who deserved what happened. More than likely because she can't accept the reality of she didn't, and it is just an unfair, random event. And not even random, it's targeted abuse, obviously, but she can't accept that life can be as unfairly cruel as a situation like that would be. So she internalizes it. She blames herself. I deserved it. And in the end, it seems like she refuses to accept the true nature of it. There was no blame to be had. It was simply continued prolonged cruelty, and she succumbs to herself. This is why, well, I did say last time, in part 2, when we were in Brookhaven, the game presented both sides of the argument of, is it truly better to face reality? Is it truly better to always face the truth, always take responsibility? While it presents both sides of the argument, I think the main theme of Silent Hill 2 is yes, it absolutely is. Regardless of the pain that it will get you to face what has happened, the opposite is complete self-destruction. And we only have one person left on their journey, and that's James himself. I know a lot of people trash the VA of this game, but it's growing on me 100%. Like, I responded in the chat to it a little bit, but I think everyone who... well, I'm mixed on it in general. When it needs to hit, it's a fucking home run, and everyone does a good job. And in my opinion, like, the best use of voice acting in this game is still yet to come. Also, talking about music purposely accentuating scenes, this track is phenomenal. Nothing else to say. Just one last bit of mindfuckery. Just one more the game hits you with. There's some cheesy lines, but it's great. Like, of course there are. There's, like, how can you... I mean, I defended the pizza scene, but I'm not going to say the execution was good. It's not. It's silly as fuck. But when it needs to hit the mark, it lands. It fucking lands. And the fact that the endgame content, I think, is so strong is very rare. Like, most games, in my opinion... Is this the staircase that Pyramid Head went down? Maybe. Maybe. There's nothing left. There's only one place left to go, James. But usually it's like games of this genre tend to peter out as they go on. Yeah, obviously, in my opinion. But games, like most Resident Evil games, just for a survival horror comparison, they tend to peter out towards the end. Silent Hill 2 is a rare example of one of the games that gets stronger towards the conclusion. One last thing to note, one very last thing, is the final enemy in the game that is not a boss is the Mandarin. As we went over last time, the Mandarin and the Flesh Lips are a chain where we have of monsters directly symbolic of Mary, in my opinion. Where you have the Flesh Lip being this more monstrous version of her. You have the Mandarin being a more monstrous still, but much more humanoid. But still fulfilling the same symbolic, barely hanging on for dear life, symbolizing that kind of suffering. And they're the last thing, the last enemy in the game we will see. Because James is about ready to resolve that aspect of himself. As we'll soon see. Let's heal up for this part. And here we have something people have argued about for, yeah, literally 20 years. It has been 20 years of people arguing. This save point. Why are there 9? Like, what is the purpose of having 9 save points? Now, here's the thing. Usually, I would chalk this up to it just being, they want to let you know this is it. This is the final save point. This is the end game. And they really want to hammer that into your skull. Usually, I would say that. However, Masahiro Ito, the game's art director, has gone on record saying this is symbolic of something. Let me just flip my notebook over here, actually. I think, paraphrasing his words, it's representative of James's delusion disappearing. It's not an exact quote, but I can't remember what he said in his tweet. But if the man himself is saying this element of the art direction does mean something, the question is, why does it 9 squares in this pattern? Why would this represent James's delusions disappearing? People have been arguing back and forth about it. I'm not confident in my stance exactly, but in my opinion, I don't think you're supposed to look at the squares here. I think it's the negative space in between the squares, the grid pattern. The bars, if you will. Notice how from the very beginning of the game, you've been seeing these prison-like bars in places they shouldn't exist. In the apartment, in the hospital, etc. You see them all over. There shouldn't be these symbols of imprisonment everywhere, in places they don't make sense. Because what I think those represent is aspects of James that feels trapped in his situation. And what we're seeing here at the very end is this negative... it's so important, definitely. It's used to cover the Japanese version. Yes, it is very important. And I think it's the negative space in between. I think it's the idea of James perceived the bars. He perceived that he was trapped in a situation. He perceived he was stuck with Mary until he did what he did. In reality, it was only ever his perception. It was only ever negative space he was making out into bars. And the only way to get away from that is to reflect on himself, which is why the save points are mirrors. Just how I look at it. Could be wrong, but this is it. We are at the grand finale. Yeah, this angle is here to let you know. It's on. Oh boy, I have quite the list that we're gonna go down. Yeah, oh boy, we're gonna have to do a lot of pausing and talking here. This is a big scene. So I'm just gonna mute the mic and let it play out itself.
I was weak. That's why I needed you. Needed someone to punish me for my sins. But that's all over now. I know the truth. Now it's time to end this.
And there we have it. This is the closest you get to a direct explanation of what Pyramid is. There's a lot up in the air, there's a lot you can say, but that is the baseline we gotta work with. I was weak. That's why I needed you. This, to me, is the exact reason why if everyone asks, what is Pyramid Head? He is James's monster. They never should have used him again in the series after this. It is pure fan service. And Pyramid Head is cool. Pyramid Head's fucking sick. He's amazing. But there's a reason he was so powerful as an image here. So, if you pay attention to the carpet on the floor when James kind of collapsed onto it, that is the seal of Metatron, a symbol from Silent Hill 1 burned into it. To my knowledge, that was basically kind of a regret by the art director, Masahiro, who said, like, yeah, it doesn't actually mean anything. I kind of regret putting it there. I thought it was cool, but nah, it doesn't fit. So, it's a complete mistake. There's nothing you can really read into it. Whoa, 2 boogeymen from Silent Hill Homecoming. Oh shit, dude. Nemesis. I think Nemesis is a really fun monster, and in the original Resident Evil 3 I really like him, but I don't know, it's like, for the thematic concepts, I gotta go Pyramid. He's, technical difficulties. There we are. Nemesis versus Pyramid Head, very homoerotic. I don't think so. Nemesis is just a big monster, you know. Like he's there to kick some ass. He's like the Terminator. He's there to punch stuff, kick ass. But yeah, again, Pyramid Head is James's personal tormentor. It's why I think he is more of James's own distorted memory of that picture of the old executioner. It's just an image that's stuck with him, so it comes back into this thing. Which again, why I think he's modeled after the executioner. It's why he can kill and hurt James. The Virgin, I needed to be punished. Pyramid Head versus the Chad. I like meaty things. Damn, butcher. The butcher. I like the meaty things. I like to cut the nurses, because I'm cool. God, I hate Origins so much, but it's Pyramid Head thing is like he serves a dual purpose as we've gone over. Nemesis is so cool. Why is there no Nemesis there? I don't know. Maybe. Well, technically there is a Nemesis too, the remake, but we don't talk about that. But boy, let's gather our thoughts here. It's as I've been saying since the beginning, Nemesis serves 2 purposes, 2 roles. He is both the tormentor, he is both the executioner, if James allows it, since he would be accepting his punishment by accepting his death, but he's also a guide. If he is not willing to accept his punishment yet, Pyramid Head will find a way to make him accept it, by forcing him to face the truth, by acting as a guide, by shepherding him through this, so to speak. But the real question here is, why at the end is there 2? There's a lot of theories. There's some they represent Mary and Maria. Said Nemesis instead of Pyramid. But it's like, a lot of people say like there's 2 of them because they represent Mary and Maria. There's 2 of them because they represent Mary and Eddie, the 2 people James has killed. These are both valid responses, but I have a very out there, admittedly probably bullshit idea that is just inserting a lot of my bullshit that I think is cool onto it, so grain of salt, I honestly could be wrong, but we gotta go back to the original pitch of Silent Hill 2. The original draft that they did not use for the final game. Because the original concept is supposed to be quite different, actually, where Mary was supposed to be a more active element of the story, and her and James were going to be contrasted with their split personas, where it would be Mary and Maria and James and Joseph. And it would be contrasting who they were with these split personalities or personas, whatever you want to call them. Now, Mary and Maria stayed in the final product, but the fact that Maria is supposed to be a split personality originally, we'll get to that. I think an element of that stays over, but seemingly Joseph is gone from this script. I don't think he is, though. I think the idea of Joseph became Pyramid Head, because Pyramid Head is not only the tormentor and the guide for James, he is also James's shadow. He is this dark mirror. That sounds like Maria and Joseph. Yeah, and here's the fucked part. They were named after Mary Kelly, the final victim of Jack the Ripper, and the one who died the most gruesome death, and Joseph Barnett, one of the #1 suspects of the Jack the Ripper murders, as well as Mary Kelly's in-law husband / boyfriend, whatever you want to call him. Make of that what you will, but in many ways, Alright, so let's go back to the beginning. Pyramid Head doesn't get the Great Knife until James gets Angela's knife. Pyramid Head doesn't get the spear until James completes the ring puzzle and starts to accompany Maria around. Pyramid Head repeatedly kills Maria even when he could kill James. He never kills James willingly. He hurts him, he doesn't kill him. Unless he accepts it. Maria, he beelines his ass. Should have just named him Anthony Hopkins. No, see, that'd be too based. The Hopkins estate might sue, because we can't have Mr. Hopkins' true nature come out. But it's, as the game constantly goes, Pyramid Head is mirroring James, because, in my opinion, Pyramid Head is a dark mirror to James. He is the desires he represses. He is the uber-masculine man. Yeah, Pyramid Head and James swing an attack with the Great Knife in the exact same way. They have that big side swing and the large overhead chop. They attack these in the same way. So I can just run around, just kind of get a good look at them. And that's why I think there's two of them, is they serve that dual purpose, where we have Pyramid Head. Let's see if we can just get a good look at him here. There we go. Where it's, again, look at who James is. He's this neurotic, emotionally fragile, soft boy kind of fucking guy. Like, he's limp-wristed. He doesn't act very much on his own. He only fights back when directly confronted. Like, he's a very passive character, all things considered. Comparing that with Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head is this uber-masculine powerhouse, takes whatever the hell he wants, instantly is on the prowl and the hunt, is in control of every situation he's in. He's everything James wishes he could be. And is also everything James was in the one moment he tried to be decisive and killed his wife. Which is why Pyramid Head is the executioner, because James sees himself as the executioner, which he was. And this is why it's going to be interesting when we beat Pyramid Head. You know what? You know what, boys? I think we gotta live up to the meme. I think there's only one way to beat Pyramid Head. There's only one way we can do it. We gotta kill him with a fucking sword, bro. We are dying. Yeah, plus, I killed Eddie with the Great Knife. Yeah, I've done it a couple times too. I did it with the pipe in this playthrough. I thought it would be a little easier. Plus, monsters avoid James if he has to light and radio off, and he has the Great Sword out and drags it around. Yeah, it's a coincidence. It's like by becoming Pyramid Head, the monsters fear him the same way. The feminine monsters who resemble Mary, his wife. Almost all of them to some degree. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the wide swing because of emulator shenanigans, so this is a little harder than I expected. This is a little more challenging than I expected. Oh well. Yeah, because usually what you want to do is you want to do the big wide swing. Just kind of stun lock him to death, but I think we've made our point. But I think the most interesting thing about Pyramid Head is how you defeat him. You don't. He killed himself. Because, like the Shadow, you do not defeat it. You do not get rid of it. James acted the way he did. He acted as spineless and as limp-wristed throughout the game as he did because he was denying this aspect of himself. He was denying the... Yeah, T-posing to assert dominance. Look at this. Look at this. The raw power aura of T-posing Pyramid Head. Look at the power. But in the end, like, I think the reason they kill themselves is because James has accepted this aspect as a part of himself. He has integrated this part of his persona, the Shadow, back into himself. He acknowledges he is capable of these like animalistic baser desires of the actions Pyramid Head will do. He's a human fucking being. He is both the James Sunderland, the limp-wristed, wimpy husband, and he is also Pyramid Head, the uber-masculine executioner. They're just different aspects of a complete person. Pyramid Head won't move anymore. Looks like he's holding something. Got the rust-colored egg. Pyramid Head won't move anymore. Looks like he's holding something. Got the scarlet egg. That's why Pyramid Head kills himself, because James accepts him. And he's not necessary anymore. Oh boy, we still have a fair bit to go over. But let us use the puzzle. We have the scarlet egg and the rust-colored egg. Same thing, you can assume this is either Mary Maria or Mary Eddie, depending. Yeah, egg! You have to put the egg in the door to unlock it. The order also does not matter. It doesn't influence the ending in any way. And last thing worth noting, the final thing worth noting is, let's go look at the envelope that the initial letter came in. It's gone. After you beat Pyramid Head, or maybe even during the fight, I wasn't paying attention, the envelope is gone. There never was an envelope, the same way there never was a letter. It's completely disappeared. You don't need it anymore. You don't need that comforting lie. So before we get to the big conclusion, because we're going to have to do a lot of silence, a lot of watching cutscenes, a lot of listening, this is the end. But before we get there, let's get to what I have been hinting at since the first Silent Hill in-depth we did 2 years back. What's the deal with Silent Hill? Why is it doing what it does? Let's just get to my idea. So all throughout Silent Hill 1 2, the town is toying with and mocking the characters. Like, it brings their baggage and trauma to life with these horrible nightmarish monsters, with these horrible scenarios they have to run through. And it forces them to confront this baggage of their life in extremely unpleasant ways that no doubt lead to more issues and trauma and baggage. Like, we've just seen 2 people fail. Eddie and Angela have succumbed to both of it. It didn't improve them. It didn't help them at all. Also, let's establish, as I've been saying, in my opinion, there 100% is a supernatural, otherworldly, eldritch, if you will, quote, if you want to use that overused word, presence in Silent Hill. There is something in the town that is there. What I don't agree with is that I think the cult is wrong. And I said this in Silent 1, I think the cult's perception of what this supernatural presence is incorrect, because whatever presence is here bends and alters how it looks to you. So this is why in Silent 1, where Alessa's mind, her psyche was the source of the town's trauma in that one. It was sort of the battery it was feeding on. The town has no particular goal. I have an idea. And it's kind of dirt simple, and it's mostly based on something that the series is openly stated is an influence. We'll get to it. But when it was feeding on Alessa, the reason why it took the appearance of the cult's scriptures and beliefs and things is because Alessa herself believed in it. Therefore, it replicated that. And to get into spoilers, but in some of the later games involving the cult, you see what is told to be the exact same god that Harry Mason fought, and it looks nothing remotely like it, because a different person's psyche is now the source of the town's battery, of its fuel, so to speak. So, their baggage is now represented as a different thing, because I don't think the god is literally a god. I think what the god is this Wizard of Oz-like puppet that is held up as essentially the source, the real, like, the biggest bit of baggage you have is what the god is representative of. In Silent 1, it was the religion itself. It's the religion that Alessa's mother chose over her, represented by this big Baphomet demon thing. And we'll see. I think there is a god in Silent Hill too. I do think you fight the god. We'll see it in a second here. But again, I don't think it's like a literal god, it's a literal devil or anything like that. I just think it is the core trauma the town is playing off. The question is, why? Well, let's get into it right now. No more delays. So, in the show Twin Peaks, there's this thing called The Lodge, which was... 1 minute. I feel like it's not operates the same way the Ocean Solaris. Something alive but totally alien to us. Not good, not evil, just alien. But the town can be influenced to react, reflect certain folks. Yes. Solaris has so many similarities to Silent Hill that it has to be an influence to some degree. Yeah, that book's pretty good. Exactly. Like, Solaris has so many connections and links to, like, thematic things in Silent Hill. I would be shocked if it was not an influence. But I'm actually talking about Twin Peaks, which has actually been listed as an influence. But in the show Twin Peaks, there's this thing called The Lodge. And The Lodge is similar to the Fog/Otherworld, where it's this other place that entities live in. And essentially, what the creatures from the Lodge do in the show is they will enjoy spreading pain, misery, trauma, and emotional turmoil to the people living in Twin Peaks, and outside of it, out in the whole world, as later entries in the series would show. And in the movie, Fire Walk With Me, I'm off, great commentary, mate. Thanks for stopping by. I'm really glad you guys are enjoying it. We're almost done, but knowing me, this is going to take like another 45 minutes. But in the Twin Peaks movie, Fire Walk With Me, you kind of get an idea of what specifically is the reason the Lodge entities are trying to spread this much misery. As simple as it is, it's food. They eat it. It's this very Orgone energy concept, where by forcing people to create this much negative energy, they feed off of it. They call it Garmonbosia. Orgone energy is another term for it in like a lot of old school magic occult books and things like that. But essentially, they just use people as like these things to like squeeze juice out of. And once they're done, they just leave. Or they let them die. Or, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. They're indifferent. They gotta eat. This is how they do it. This is unfortunately what they must do. And I think that's what the town is. It is like the Ocean in Solaris. It's just this thing. It's not good, it's not evil, and I think the reason it's showing this much baggage to people is because it just eats the energy. Which is where the notes come from. I think the notes are just these residual bits of trauma that the town itself has already kind of consumed. And it just has these little crumbs of it lying around. And it's why specifically at the very end, you can face the god, and yeah, you can escape, sure, but it's not because the town particularly gives a shit. It's not because it cares at all, no. It's because by facing your core baggage, you have been juiced and milked for all you have been made, all of your worth. All of the use you could have to the town for just consumption is done. It's over. Alright, you can go. Because ultimately it doesn't matter. Live or die, escape or be trapped in Silent Hill, it doesn't matter to it. It just matters that it got what it needed to survive. And I think that's what it is. As simple as it sounds, that's kind of how I'm starting to see it. is this very, very weird, larger-than-life thing. But I digress. Ultimately, at the end of the day, even that I don't think is that important. It's just, like, kind of background lore. Because ultimately what matters in Silent Hill, even Silent Hill 1, as basic as it is, it's the people. It's the human side of the story. That's what matters. That's what I invested in. That's what it seems like anyone who loves this series invested in. So the real things that matter, the only things left that matter, are, in this case, James and Mary. Just tying up those loose ends.
Mary?
What do you want, James?
I brought you some flowers.
Flowers? I don't want any damn flowers. Just go home already.
Mary, what are you saying?
Look, I'm disgusting. I don't deserve flowers. Between the disease and the drugs, I look like a monster. Well, what are you looking at? Get the hell out of here! Leave me alone already! I'm no use to anyone. I'll be dead soon anyway. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. It'd be easier if they'd just kill me. But I guess the hospital is making a nice profit off me. They want to keep me alive. Are you still here? I told you to go. Are you deaf? Don't come back. James, wait. Please don't go. Stay with me. Don't leave me alone. I didn't mean what I said. Please, James. Tell me I'll be okay. Tell me I'm not going to die. Help me.
I really like that little glimpse into what I believe was the entire 3 years of Mary's illness. Just a little glimpse in the day of it. So, Guy C, he's maybe not the most reliable source of information for this game, since, you know, like, obviously he didn't write it, didn't really have that much influence on story direction, but I like the way he describes Mary and James' relationship. It's not as simple as one is good, the other is bad, no matter how you slice it. It's... Yeah, geez, the women say one thing, mean another, am I right? We'll get to that in a second here. I think that's actually very intentional, but... he describes it as like this very parasitic relationship, where you have James, who desperately still wants that affection from his wife, but hates what she's become. But because he so desperately wants that affection, he keeps going back to her. He keeps going to the hospital. He keeps going, like, these little weird signs of affection. And you have Mary, who wants that affection still, but because of the obvious grief and stress of her situation, also wants to push everyone in her life away. Because, a little bit of spoilers, but we get she mentions later, slightly going ahead here, that she does this to basically everyone she knows. Everyone from her life, like her friends and family, like, she kind of just does this to everyone. But the difference is, I think James kept coming back because James he needed that vindication. He needed that idea of himself as, I am the doting husband who will always come back to my wife. So while he has this idea of himself in the head, underneath that anger and hostility and sexual repression, they probably weren't going at it for years. And I don't think James cheated. There's no indication he did. I've heard people say they think he did. I don't think there's any implication at all. And underneath, so you get this nice exterior that he put on, the persona of the James we've been playing as, of this, like, kind of meek, subservient husband who's going to do anything to help his wife. But then you have underneath, you have the shadow brewing that eventually became Pyramid Head. You have the merciless executioner, the hyper-masculine sex machine that will take whatever the hell it wants. that was the shadow brewing as he was repressing what he actually felt. And as I will say, I think the same thing happens with Mary. I don't think Maria is a product of James's imagination entirely. I think Maria is to James what Maria is to Mary what Pyramid Head is to James. Like, Maria is just an exaggerated, repressed reflection of her. Bob here made an interesting point. It's like, you get the shot of Mary not being the sweet flower that we've seen and James has told us up to this point. Seems very manipulative like Maria. I think this is where Maria comes from. I think these kind of conversations show us, because at every step of the way, Maria, as we've known her, has had drastic mood whiplashes from the word go. And I think that is a reference to this, where we have, in her obvious stress and grief for the situation, Mary is constantly going back and forth. It's like, oh, it'd be better if I just died. I wish they'd let me die. Wait, why are you going? I hate you. Leave. You're the worst. Wait, please stay. I love you. Please don't leave. Tell me I'm gonna live. And it's like just this constant back and forth for years. They don't say when this conversation happened. It could be the very last they ever had. It could be the one that triggered it. This could be the straw that broke the camel's back. Or it was in the middle. I don't know which is worse. But the idea seems to be this is something common. Will this end up being a full series cover? No. I've played the other Western games on stream and Silent Hill 4, and it's I really don't have as much to say about them. I did Silent Hill 1, I did Silent Hill 2. I'm pretty, I was kind of on the fence, but after seeing how this is going, yeah, we're a couple years from now, we're going to do Silent Hill 3. I think that's the last one of note, but we'll do the trilogy, because that is the full series as I am concerned. But, yeah. Again, I don't think that Maria is what James wished Mary would be. That's one of the common interpretations you always see people kind of have. It's his wish fulfillment, perfect wife. I don't agree with that. I don't ever think that is. I think it's more of an exaggeration of who she was. Blue Stinger, deep lore, deep dive. Hell yeah. But again, it's the same way James is not this, nothing devoted. He's not this meek, devoted husband, and he's not just the merciless executioner. He's both of them with more in between, because he's a human being. The same thing goes with Mary. She's not just the nice, conservatively dressed, sweet flower, the doting wife that James claims, and she's not just the overly flirtatious, verbally abusive Maria either. She's both of them because she's a fucking human being, and human beings are complicated. It's yeah, you know what? They say your clothes are different from Mary. It's you're telling me Mary would never dress like that in any capacity for her husband? Really? You're telling me she wouldn't try to be sexually appealing to her husband in any way? No? Seems silly to me. And I think that simplistic view of Mary and Maria, which led to that dichotomy that Silent Hill fed off of, is the same simplistic view of James and Pyramid Head, when in reality, it's a mix of the two. The real Mary was the loving, doting wife, and she was the verbally abusive, kind of like Harpy, and she was the overly flirtatious one. Because she's a person. She's complicated. And here's where we get to the big one. Why did James kill Mary? Why did he do it? This is the last bit of information we're going to get. The game leaves so many questions about when did that conversation happen? How often was that? What was the progression? Was it 3 years? Or was it less of a time frame for the illness? We don't get these answers, and one, I appreciate that. It leaves much more for discussion. And two is I think that's intentional because it doesn't give us any definitive way to come down on James Sunderland as a person. This is merely a glimpse into the final days of this would you call it failed? I don't know, it's a tragedy. It's just fucking tragic. But the question is, why did James get married? There's a lot of contributing factors to this whole thing. And one of the number one interpretations of Silent Hill 2 that I strongly disagree with is the idea of, and I think I know who said this, but I'm kind of still mad at them, so I don't want to give them the name drop, but they call James Schrodinger's protagonist. That who James Sunderland is, I'll pause the fuck it. Who James Sunderland is, as a man, as a character, as a protagonist, changes depending on what ending you get. Like, it's like, oh, he doesn't actually have a personality until the very end, and he's intentionally vague. And I think that is, if I'm being blunt, that's fucking stupid. I have no idea how someone can look at this and just say, yep, he's totally a blank slate avatar, and he only changes and becomes a person depending on the ending, because he's totally an insert for you. And it's like, I don't know how someone can come to that conclusion at the end of it. Because, look, one, it undermines James Sunderland as a written character, who I would argue is one of the best written video game protagonists. Did they confuse James with Murphy? It seems like they... You know what? Yeah. They are assuming James is what Murphy is, where his actions completely are his actions and reactions change depending on if you hit A or B. Rather than... One, it undermines James, because I believe he is one of the best written video game protagonists. Like, easily. He's one of the best. But I think the big thing that it also undermines is how fucking complicated human motivation actually is, especially for something as dramatic as killing a loved one. It completely undermines this, and it's so close-minded for something that's supposed to be... is this the same guy who did those really awful streams a couple years back, that essayist? No. It's a channel that I am 95% confident ripped me off, and I'm still mad about it like 4 years later. I will never not be mad. I am confident they plagiarized me. I don't want to give them the time of day, but I digress. So, let's kind of argue from both perspectives here. There's two dramatic extremes. Some people will argue this was a mercy kill. 100% a mercy kill. James is a blameless little saint. He's a total whoopee, and he's just a sad boy, and we gotta sympathize with him. Let's argue from that standpoint, alright? James just wanted his wife's suffering to stop, and he wanted her to offer her wish to pass. We can assume that they've had a conversation like this a lot, and she had a lot of things of, why won't I die? We can kind of assume that this is a fairly common occurrence. Keep in mind, we're going to learn later, again, I'm kind of jumping to the gun a bit here, but we learn later that the reason Mary even went back to the Sunderland household at all was because she was on death's door. Like, she was basically like, within the week, she's gonna be dead. Kind of thing. And that's why the doctors let her go home, and why he had the chance to suffocate her in the first place, and immediately drive to Silent Hill. This whole game takes place over the course of, like, maybe 2 days. But the idea is, like, she was not going to recover, so the doctor let her go home early. We're going to learn that in a bit here, but I have to jump the gun to kind of push this argument. So, for those 3 years, he stayed the entire time. Even with what happened with those conversations, with Mary's sort of verbal abuse. He stayed. He never cheated. There's no implication. People have argued that there is. That's bullshit. Moving on. And again, as we went over, he researched ways to try to help, even if he's just some bumblefuck and not a doctor himself. He read the books. Like, okay, is there anything I can find? Is there anything I can find at all? Again, despite the futility, he tried. And if he only did it at the tail end, that means it took years for him to reach that breaking point. That's got to count for something. Yeah, ooh, sad soft boy James did absolutely nothing wrong. Yeah, like, let's go for the most dramatic one end and say that's what's happening. Let's argue in favor of that. So that's one end of the argument, and all that's true. Let's go on the other end. Let's go on the James is literally Satan. Like, James hated Mary and wanted his life back. So, James hated going to the hospital, that one's just clear. Mary comments on it like he's surly, he doesn't smile much. He commented how he'd rather go to the bar and drink than go visit his wife in the hospital. He doesn't really talk much in this sequence. Notice how quiet he is in this sequence. He doesn't really say anything. He just kind of takes it and then leaves. I like to think that he just left after this. And again, there's a lot of the symbolism that matches this too, is the imprisonment. James more than likely viewed himself as trapped in this situation for years. And he's gonna kind of start to resent Mary for that. And let's tie that in with Pyramid Head, his shadow. Like, the dark mirror to himself. Like, what is Pyramid Head's most common repeated action? It's killing Maria. Sort of what I would say is the shadow of Mary. So, that situation, him killing his wife, is still playing on loop in his mind over and over and over. And also, let's do it on the flip side of the argument. Yeah, so he waited till Mary was on death's door to do it. Okay, great. Right? That means that she was going to be dead anyway, but he still had to kill her by his own hands. He still had to do it. It's like almost like this revenge thing. Like, nah, I gotta make it mine. I gotta make it as unpleasant possible because I gotta get my revenge. I gotta get what's mine. That's the flip side of the argument. And the thing is, both of the sources of information on both ends are true. Because both answers are kind of true. Yes, he loved his wife. Yes, he was absolutely dedicated for those years. Yes, he fucking despised what she became and wanted to kind of get a little even. Because he's a human being. Motivation's fucking complicated. And there's another aspect is, was this premeditated or not? If they made a new Silent Hill, what settings, mechanics would you like to then change or improve? Yeah, easy. Get a bunch of folks from Krakow to dunk on mentally ill people. That's what Konami thinks. Like, God, fuck Bloober Team. I cannot believe they're actually getting it. You know what? No, I can't believe. They are absolutely the Eurojank studio that would get the right Silent Hill in this day and age. But if I had to do it, I think you need a back-to-basics approach. I do think you need to go back to classic survival horror styling. Unfortunately, they're never going to do fixed camera angles, tank controls. I'd love it, but you couldn't sell that. So, I'd say like, go back to Silent Hill 1 and try to modernize that game's gameplay loop. Like, I think Silent Hill 1 holds up quite well. And if you take its raw game design ideas, you can make something pretty interesting with it. With modern conveniences to keep most people engaged, I guess. I don't think there's any one right way to do it. Unfortunately, I've seen too many studios fail to reinvent Silent Hill, and I have absolutely no faith Bloober Team has the ability to make it work, so I'd say, like, someone should go back and use Silent Hill 1 as a blueprint and try to make something new with it, because at this... sorry for asking hard questions. Like, yeah, this is a tricky one, unfortunately. I'd say, yeah, I'm going to stick with that. Like, someone should use Silent Hill 1 as the template and try to do something new with it. Like, I'm not saying just, like, copy the setup, copy the call, copy the imagery, all that stuff. Like, use the raw game design of Silent Hill 1's loop and try to make something around that. I think that's what we should do. So go back to basics. But again, like, we were talking earlier, like, was this premeditated or was this a crime of passion? There's no answer. In fact, well, I said it was premeditated. That could be complete bullshit. This could easily just be a crime of passion. What if the conversation we heard here was the last conversation they had? Mary's home now. She's just here, you know. This is her last time coming home, probably. And she's gonna spend the last time these two have together just screaming and ranting at him. What if this is the moment James said, yeah, tonight's the night, she's dead. Yep, tonight's it. And he just snapped. Like, crimes of passion are the most common for homicide. I didn't get the desktop notification of your stream, so I missed it. Well, we're in time for the ending. And obviously, also, it's like, if you do want to see it from the beginning, I'll cut it up into individual chunks and cut out the screw-ups, but... You know, right? Like... but, yeah. Again, you know... It might actually explain his actions, too. Where I presumed, and I'm supported by one of the 3 endings of the original game, is I think James came to Silent Hill specifically to kill himself. I think that's why he was parked out front of where the lake is, to drive into it, and why his car was open and hastily parked, because he wasn't planning on parking for long. And I think you can have the crime of passion idea line up more easily with that, where he does it, realizes exactly what he's done with the, when the adrenaline rush and the anger of the moment wears off, and he has to sit with the knowledge of what he just did. And he said, okay, I know how to solve this. And he goes to end his life, because his life without Mary was going to be like that. It was going to be forfeit anyway. Oh boy. This is, like I said, this is when we get, like, this is when shit gets a little grim. It's been grim up to now, but this is something else. I think the point is that the situation is complicated. And anyone saying there's one direct reason he did it, or there's one motivation, or he's Schrodinger's protagonist, and he's just like an A or a B moral choice scenario, I think they're missing the fucking point. This is a tragedy. This is an unfortunately grounded tragedy, and it ended in the worst possible way. And I have to reset my fucking controller, because of course I do. So yeah, I think it's just a fucking tragedy, and it's an unfortunately grounded one. That's, a lot of people, there's probably unfortunately too common in day-to-day life. There's only one way to end it, though. It's not over yet. So I said there were 2 moments of the game of flowing water. This is the second one. It's raining. The water is rippling and moving. It's no longer stagnant. And you're above it. Yikes, did I miss most of the stream? Yeah, we're at the final boss. We're basically done here. Sorry, man. But, yeah, it's raining. There's only 2 moments of the game that it rains. It's just as James is finally challenged on the idea of the whole "my wife died 3 years ago" thing, and right here, as he is forced to confront the truth, and he has accepted it. He has accepted what he has done. Yep, it's rippling and moving, vibrating with motion. But, yeah, the water's not stagnant. It's raining. It's flowing fresh water. It is no longer... Looks like a downpour. God damn it! But, yeah, it is Kagare. It is no longer Kagare water. It is spiritually clean. It is a heavy rain, when I say. And we must go kill Origami Killer. Sam Nam J in front of the FBI. But we're going up. Isn't that fucking interesting? Isn't that interesting? We're walking up. Every step of the way in this game, we have been going down. We went down for the holes, we've been going down to the basements. And now for an uninterrupted section, at the very last time we will be doing anything remotely close to exploring, we are ascending. With flowing water once again. Ain't that fucking interesting? I'm gonna actually I'm on a safe state right here, too, just in case. Just in case shit goes wrong. We're gonna do it right here. Yeah, now it is James, you not now. We're ready. I think it's time to finish this. So, I'm just gonna warn everyone right now. Yeah, now I'm Jane, the special AI FBIs. I'm gonna warn everyone right now, we're gonna be doing a lot of talking. This is gonna be a lot of pausing, a lot of talking, and the ending is gonna be just listening and silence. I won't have anything to say until the credits. We're gonna have a little moment, one last moment to talk up ahead, but once I mute the mic, it's gonna be waiting until the credits. And yeah, this is it. Wow. And the stairs are gone. You don't need to go back there anymore. You don't need to. If you remember correctly, this is the bed that you saw in the VHS that Mary was suffocated in, and Maria died on in the labyrinth. Holds a lot of significance to him, but there she is. We have one last thing left to do.
Mary?
Wrong again. Mary's dead. You killed her.
Maria? Maria, I'm done with you.
What do you mean? But I can be yours. I'll be here for you forever. And I'll never yell at you or make you feel bad. That's what you wanted.
Now I understand. The problem is, you're not Mary.
No, James. I won't let you. I'll never let you have your Mary back.
So there we are. Anyone who's played Dead by Daylight, ouch. This is the cage that Pyramid Head puts survivors into. That's what it's a reference to. And of course, at the very end, we get some of the most raw music in the game. Yeah, she's yelling at him and making him feel bad right now! But, yeah, this is the final boss. It is, in my opinion, this is the god. It is a manifestation of James's core baggage. It is this nightmarish, monstrous version of Mary. Of course it is. What else could it have been? But it's very interesting when Bob says, like, that's a lie. I don't know what he's referring to, but if he's referring to the idea that you're not Mary, that's true and it isn't. Because, as we've gone over, Maria is a part of his wife. It is a part of Mary. And James here is still rejecting that to some degree. Which, I think that's why he has to fight it. That's why there's a boss fight here, because his arc, his journey to accept isn't over. He's not accepting this part of his wife. I mean, I won't make you feel bad. Yeah, well, that's a fucking lie, too. But I think it's like that's why there's a boss fight here. He's still not accepting this, that this is a part of his wife to some degree. Also, let's just take a few seconds to look at it for game time. One, it's vomiting the moth butterflies at you as an attack. Once again, the symbol of resurrection and rebirth. But let's take a good look at it. Let's take a good look at it. What we have... There we go. Let's take a good look. What we have here is this inverted crucifix. This inverted crucifixion. And with the flesh at her side of her head there, looks almost like this nun's headwear. I forget the name of it. But I think what's most interesting, one, the bed frame, is that she is still trapped in bed, as the Mary who is sick was. But what's interesting is earlier, the habit, thank you very much, yeah, it looks like a nun's habit almost. So what you have is sort of this bizarre mixture of designs, where you have like this holy saintly... how on earth would she kill him with a bed? She'll strangle him with the she has a tentacle to strangle him with. And also the moths that she spit do damage, so... What you have here, essentially, is this very, like, deified, saintly depiction of his wife that is also at the same time monstrous and with the inverted crucifix. It's like the two massive extremes of James's perception of his wife merged together at once. Like, as we were saying, both of those extremes that he perceived were wrong. And as a real human being, she's someone in the center. But I think what I wanted to bring up from earlier was there is a line connecting this final version of Mary with other monsters. It is the flesh lips to the Mandarin to Mary here. Because in my opinion, these are the most direct representations of Mary. Where you have the flesh lips, which have this like bed frame cage design around them. That are these like sickly masses that also strangle you. Like, let's look at Mary's attack. What's her primary attack? Ow, get over here. Come on. Do it. Hit me. Hit me! Emulator shenanigans. Okay, so unfortunately I can't show it off, but in the original hardware, her primary attack is that when it hits you, it doesn't register as a hit, she strangles you. The same way that the flesh lips strangled James as their attack. And so what we have there is the flesh lips with that more monster design, immediately followed by the Mandarin, which is also like this sickly, monstrous design, but it's much more noticeably feminine, while also still trapped beneath, hanging on for dear life. Hanging on for dear life, just like the flesh lips, just like someone symbolically hanging on for dear life due to an illness. And now we have the final one. We have a more direct depiction of Mary in the similar situation, looking similar to the flesh lips. However, she's much more humanoid now. While she still has that monstrous element to her design, as well as that mixture of being saintly and demonic all at once, it's essentially his perception of his wife is becoming much more normalized and human. And as we will see after this boss fight, he gets one last look at what his wife looked like on the day she died. Because he has resolved this contrast and now sees his wife for who she truly was and accepts that. That's really all I gotta say, I think, on her design. Yeah, he sees her as less monstrous and less abstract as the game goes on, and at the very end, he will accept her for who she truly is. And outside of one more thing, I don't have much else to say. I think I'm not fond of this boss fight. Like, I think it's a little much. Like, I think the final boss, the two pyramid heads, are fine. But there's one moment of this fight I do quite like, just from a thematic point of view. And we'll see it. We'll see it. So, run to one corner. This is the one strategy in every boss fight in this game: is unload, run to a corner, unload. I'm just using the strong heals. I don't give a fuck. Alright, we're moving on. I don't even give a shit. We're using the strong heals. It doesn't even matter. We're so stacked, dude. We can get one more shot in. We can get one more. Gotcha. Oh, there it is. There it is. There's the strangulation. The same attack that the flesh lips used. Yeah, fuck it. But Thomas, what if you need those heals later? Nah. I'm like 90. We're not gonna need them. We're fine. We're perfectly fine. In fact, oh wait, I took any sort of damage? Yeah, whatever. It don't even matter. It don't even matter. We're using them all. We're using them all. Why is she upside down again? I missed it. It's similar to the design from the flesh lips, as well as being like an inverted crucifix when paired with her like nun imagery. It's sort of like this merging of being saintly and demonic at once, like two extremes of Mary Maria in his head, which are false, obviously. And this is sort of her resolution. So, Metal Gear Solid 3 ripped this off with the ending of the boss. There's only one more thing left to do. You know, that feels a little mean. As nonsensical as it is, I'll always pull out the handgun. It seems the most humane. Also, I just want to pause the game one more time. I want to ask a question to chat. Just one question. James is going to have a conversation with Mary again. Do you think that's actually her? Do you think that is the spirit or ghost of the real Mary talking to James? Does the letter say anything new? Well, Bob, you might have missed this, but there is no letter. It's gone. It's disappeared from your inventory because there was never a letter. There never was a letter bringing him to Silent Hill. It was never real. It's gone. But my question is, do you guys think that he will be talking to the real Mary? Like, is that actually her? Do you think that, it's her ghost or spirit? Or do you think who he talks to is going to be a fabrication of his mind? That it's just an element of his own mind giving himself some sort of closure? This is a genuine question. And I will say, the one thing I will bring up is that as a sequel to Silent Hill 1, because this is, Silent Hill 1 did establish I think, not this one. I don't mean the one here. I mean the one in the cutscene immediately after this. After we shoot this Mary on the ground, do you think that's her? Because keep in mind, Silent Hill 1 establishes there are spirits, souls, ghosts, what have you, in this universe. That is an aspect of the Silent Hill mythos, of the afterlife here. As we see with the constant reincarnation of Alessa. So do you think that who he is going to talk to after we shoot this is the real Mary or not? Is it actually her? Or is it just an element of James's mind giving him closure? Let's food for thought, because I'm going to have to mute my mic. This is a lot of cutscene. But there's only one way to end this.
Mary?
James.
Forgive me.
I told you that I wanted to die, James. I wanted the pain to end.
That's why I did it, honey. I just couldn't watch you suffer.
No. That's not the whole truth. You also said that you didn't want to die. The truth is, part of me hated you for taking away my life.
You killed me, and you're suffering for it. It's enough, James.
Mary?
James.
Now I understand the real reason I came to this town. I wonder, what was I afraid of? Without you, Mary, I've got nothing. Now we can be together.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you. Waiting for you to come to see me. But you never do. And so I wait, wrapped in my cocoon of pain and loneliness. I know I've done a terrible thing to you. Something you'll never forgive me for. I wish I could change that. But I can't. I feel so pathetic and ugly laying here, waiting for you. Every day I stare up at the cracks in the ceiling, and all I can think about is how unfair it all is. The doctor came today. He told me I could go home for a short stay. It's not that I'm getting better. It's just that this may be my last chance. I think you know what I mean. Even so, I'm glad to be coming home. I've missed you terribly. But I'm afraid, James. I'm afraid you don't really want me to come home. Whenever you come see me, I can tell how hard it is on you. I don't know if you hate me or pity me, or maybe I just disgust you. I'm sorry about that. When I first learned that I was going to die, I just didn't want to accept it. I was so angry all the time, And I struck out at everyone I loved most. Especially you, James. That's why I understand if you do hate me. But I want you to know this, James. I'll always love you. Even though our life together had to end like this, I still wouldn't trade it for the world. We had some wonderful years together. Well, this letter has gone on too long, so I'll say goodbye. I told the nurse to give this to you after I'm gone. That means that as you read this, I'm already dead. I can't tell you to remember me, but I can't bear for you to forget me. These last few years since I became ill, I am so sorry for what I did to you, did to us. You've given me so much, and I haven't been able to return a single thing. That's why I want you to live for yourself now. Do what's best for you, James. James, you made me happy.
Still my favorite performance in a game. I 100% agree. That is, in my opinion, the single most touching bit of voice acting I have ever heard in a game. I've ever heard, period, like in anime and movies, etc. Like, it lands. It fucking lands. And I think the credits theme for the In Water ending is so tonally off-putting. I hate it, kind of. So, honestly, I'm just gonna mute it, honestly. I think it sounds like shit, so. I don't know anything about Silent Hill. That letter moved me. It is heartbreaking. And, admittedly, this is where I'm gonna be like, yeah, this should not have been sandwiched between Metal. Dude, this song, like, I hate this song. I hate it. It ruins the ending. But, you know what else ruins the ending? In Water itself. I'm gonna be blunt. This is my contrarian stance on Silent Hill 2. I think In Water is the least interesting of the base 3 endings. It is thematically... It's a bad ending, I get it. It's because I took too long. By virtue, like, you get in water by taking too much damage and taking too long. The underwater scene means you went through it. Yeah, that's what the silence at the beginning was, where it's like, I know what I have to do. Now we can be forever. He drives into the lake. He goes through with what he came to Silent Hill to do. There's a lot of foreshadowing in favor of this ending, but if I'm being blunt, I don't like it. Because it goes against the main theme of the game. It's thematically inconsistent. And it just feels like a cheap cop-out, haha, feel sad. We'll watch the other 2 endings on YouTube, because unfortunately my original plan of watching the endings based on save files fell through. I'm not mad, but we'll see it. Well, we'll see the other 2, we'll watch some YouTube. The Metal really sucked. It ruins the atmosphere. The end credits themes from the other endings are so much better. It's criminal, actually. But, what happened to Angela? They don't explain, but it's presumed that she kills herself. There is one last scene. It's presumed that she kills herself. But there's one thing I want to read. I don't think it's Mary, but more so James really coming to terms with himself, understanding himself and why he did it. I think his real closure with her comes with the final letter. Like James, we can now see what the letter is, unclouded, unworded. I always thought Lee was my favorite. James isn't completely absolved. He still did something horrific, but he's made peace with himself and Mary. It should be a soft song. We're going to listen to the last 2 credits. I'm going to try and bring them up. But yeah, I think this is a thematically unsatisfying ending. What are you planning next? We're going to finish this up. I still have to do the scripted video for this as kind of like a condensed in summary of what I think of Silent Hill 2. Was in all the years of this game, I have never seen someone just make a video saying, here's what Silent Hill 2 is about. Like, they always get really hung up and like, here's what the monsters mean, here's what the symbolism means. It's like, no one just gives like a basic, here's the main message. And I'll like reiterate it again after we watch Leave, which is my favorite ending. But we gotta see the other bad ending, which is still itself very interesting. But what I'm planning next, I have a few stream games planned, some videos. I do need to take some time off to reevaluate things, and also like kind of learn some editing tricks, because I'm definitely like coasting on some of my bullshit. Letters is from this game, right? Yes, Letters is one of the first songs. I'll post it in the Discord later, but again, there's a lot of great music. I have no idea why they chose this like metal for the very end. It doesn't fit. It straight up doesn't fit, but just give me a moment. I'll try my level best to set things up.
James, I've been waiting.
Mary. I'm sorry it took so long.
Didn't you want to see me?
Yes, I wanted to see you. Even an illusion of you. That's why I came here.
It's not true, is it? You killed me.
I couldn't watch you suffer.
Don't make excuses, James. I know I was a burden on you. You must have hated me. That's why you got rid of me.
It's true. I may have had some of those feelings. It was a long 3 years. I was tired.
That's why you needed this Maria person? James, do you really think I could ever forgive you for what you did? You killed Mary again?
That wasn't Mary. Mary's gone. That was just something Maria? Maria?
What, James?
I want you. I want you with me.
Are you sure?
Come on. Let's get out of here.
What about Mary?
It's okay. I have you. something about that cough.
Ooh, very Twilight Zone. Very spooky. Very spooky. I own that. Yeah, we'll put like black screen over it again. Alright. Let's put this up again. That is the Maria ending. That one's pretty spooky. That's very Twilight Zone, that ending, honestly. So the idea is James has refused to actually accept it. And in refusing to accept it, he's given Maria, he's given this product of the town, who's now sick, as she was in the hospital. So that last line, like, you better do something about that cough. It's like he's learned nothing, and he's going to repeat the exact mistakes that led him to that point in the first place. I think this is kind of an interesting ending, and it is that very Twilight Zone idea, like, oh, this is a hell he's never going to escape. He's just going to keep repeating this cycle. Like, yeah, sure, Eddie and Angela are not going to be in this cycle. He's going to keep seeing new things, but at the end of the day, he's going to keep repeating the same core mistake of refusing to accept what he's done. So, interesting kind of bad ending, but again, in my opinion, the only remotely decent ending is Leave. And we're going to bring that up in a second here. I love how fucking sinister James sounds. Yeah, it's like, there's something so wrong about the way he says that. Just so calm and matter-of-fact about it. That is just, like, kind of skin-crawling, honestly. Like, ugh, no way. But in my opinion, this is kind of the best of the three endings. And so nice, I get to kill my wife twice. He gets to kill his wife to the end of time, because he can never escape now. It's very Twilight Zone. Very Twilight Zone. But if I had to make an assumption, this to me is the only ending that works. So yeah, just we'll pull this up and we'll watch the Leave ending.
Mary?
When will you ever stop making that mistake? Mary's dead. You killed her.
Maria? It's you. But I don't need you anymore.
What? You must be joking. But I can be yours. I'll be here for you forever. And I'll never yell at you or make you feel bad. That's what you wanted. I'm different than Mary. How can you throw me away?
I understand now. It's time to end this nightmare.
No! I won't let you. You deserve to die too, James!
Mary?
James.
Forgive me.
I told you that I wanted to die, James. I wanted the pain to end.
That's why I did it, honey. I just couldn't watch you suffer. No. That's not true. You also said you didn't want to die. The truth is, I hated you. I wanted you out of the way. I wanted my life back.
James, if that were true, then why do you look so sad?
Mary?
James. Please. Please do something for me.
on with your life.
And that is the Leave ending. In my opinion, that is the only satisfying ending of the bunch, because... is that Laura? Yes, that is Laura. Well, her wish in the letter was to be... Mary's wish was to adopt Laura, so James does so himself. He carries on in his wife's last will and testament. And that's why, just thematically, I've always really loved the idea that in just that moment, just that one moment on the bed when James finally accepts who his wife was and what truly happened, he gets to talk to her one last time. I liked the big fucking softy bitch in me likes to say that's the spirit of Mary, and he gets that one last chat with her. That's just me. There's almost nothing supporting it outside of like Silent Hill 1 reference bullshit, but the big softy in me likes the idea. And to me, this is the only thematically resonant ending, because Silent Hill 2 is a game we talked about from the beginning, about denial, about running from your past, running from your problems, and questioning whether or not that's necessarily the worst thing. Is it always better to face the truth? Is it always better to be honest? Is it always better to confront these tragedies and traumas? And while it does present both sides, so, in my opinion, Silent Hill 2 ultimately says yes. That is what the game is about. It is about how the pain of living in that lie, of running from the truth, is far worse in both the short and long term than truly accepting it. Which is why the other endings, especially In Water, doesn't work for me. Because In Water implies that James already did that. He already went through every trial and tribulation. He accepted it. And he kills himself anyway. Ultimate self-destruction. That's not what the point's about. Eddie and Laura died. Eddie and Angela died on the same arc that James went on. Because they didn't. They refused. James didn't refuse. He did accept it. He did face it. And the fact that he gets the same ending as they do, that doesn't fit for me. That's why Leave is the only ending I think lines up with the message Silent Hill 2 is trying to tell. And that's it. And such a grim game, I just prefer that final note of hope that it ends on. And that is Silent Hill 2. It's kind of surreal that we're done. What if the town just gave up after James constantly just enjoys killing Maria? It's like every single time, it's like a New Game Plus run. It's like, oh boy, here I go killing Maria again. Oh, what are you saying? The ending where James does voodoo cult bullshit to resurrect his wife isn't that good? What? I know, right? Like, how crazy. Well, I don't know, like... What is Angela's fault? Nothing is her fault, but the fact that Angela's fault is that she believes it's her fault. See, the town is indifferent that she was truly a victim in the situation. It just knows that she has trauma to milk for its own gain. I think that's what makes it work. I don't know. Like, I think that's Angela's problem, is that she dies in the end because she doesn't accept what truly happened. So, she dies, but she kills herself. And the thing is, like, James kills himself in the end. In the In Water ending, which I don't like it. It's like, no, Angela still had that delusion of... Yeah, thank God the UFO ending is the only canon ending. Oh, I don't be too sure about that. There's one more ending. I mean, there's a dog ending, but I don't know. But honestly, yeah, that's kind of it. there's nothing left to say, honestly. Like, I think I kind of got it all out there. Kind of, it's a little surreal that the project's over. The fact that it even happened, but yeah, to me, like, that is why. Yeah, it was you, wasn't it? You were behind this all along. And the dog just comes up and licks his face. It's fucking great. But that's Silent Hill 2. And, you know, I'll put lemons out. 1 minute. Anyone who wants lemons, get in chat. Hey, you want lemons? We're adding lemons to the chest. We're adding them. We're adding them. This is it. Alright, put lemons in the chest. Come on, boys. If you want lemons, this is their moment. But oh boy. I don't know, like, there's nothing left to say. It's like, Silent 2 is a flawed game. It's probably an overrated game. I think the fan base who defends it, and myself included, are kind of fucking ravenous about it, but there's so many things Silent Hill 2 does that no other game on the market does well to this day. I have no idea what the lemons are. It's a D-Live thing. I stream on D-Live, but I don't know. Like, honestly, yeah, like, there are things to this day Silent Hill 2 does better than almost everything on the market. There are elements of its writing, even with the occasional stinker line, even with the occasional bum delivery, that land so fucking hard. There's something so earnest about Silent Hill 2 in its delivery. And the fact that you can tell from beginning to end, this is a true passion project. This is everyone firing on all cylinders to put out something they believed in. And it shows in every little interactable detail, every minor thing. Yeah, the passion. It just oozes from this game. And it's tackling subject matter that games today are still struggling to do. And does so effortlessly. I'm thinking of the medium. Imagine if In Water... Okay, well, In Water is not as bad as the medium. Like, the medium is... In Water, I think, is, like, unsatisfying. The medium's ending is fucking sadistic. Like, I hate it. It is genuinely terrible. Great walkthrough, dude. Thank you. Like, I'm gonna be real. I was genuinely nervous starting this. How do you limit something that you love? You know, like, to the degree... Like, I hope I got that across, that I love Silent Hill 2. I really do, and I hope I wasn't too overbearing and just gushing about it. I tried to present criticism, so try to be a little more open about it, but yeah, this is probably my favorite game. This is probably one of my favorite pieces of media, and it's one of the things that has resonated with me very hard. Yeah, it's fine, but it's no Moonbase Alpha. Sato's real masterpiece. If the Steam sale is still going, I should probably buy that for the memes, but who knows? Maybe we'll finish up Silent Hill 2, because we're not done, technically. There's still Born from a Wish. There's a campaign for that. We're not going to do it tonight. Probably not going to do it this week, for the rest of the week, but there is technically more Silent Hill 2 to do. So, I'll think about it. I'll wait and see, but I think it's free? God damn, I gotta jump on that. But thank you. Thank you one and all for coming out. Thanks for watching this game. I'll see you next time.